Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept our humble obeisances. All glories to Jagat Guru Sri Prabhupada. All glories to our revered speaker for today, His Grace, Sri Salika Prabhu. Devotees, we are sorry to announce to you that His Holiness Kavichandra Swami Maharaj is unable to be here today. Maharaj is unable to be here today due to time differences. Where Maharaj is at the moment, it's like midnight. And Maharaj shared with us that he had another program prior to this program, so he couldn't do both together. So, as usual, His Grace Salika Prabhu stepped in to speak Bhagavatam. So, we thank you for doing this service, His Grace Salika Prabhu. And devotees, we also apologize to you all that Maharaj could not be here. This is like the second or third time this has happened with Maharaj, and it is quite understandable in the sense that he's Maharaj, he's sannyasi, he keeps traveling, and depending on where he is at the moment, due to time differences, he might not be able to speak. So we miss Maharaj, and we hope to have his association sometime soon. So without further ado, Sri Salika Prabhu, we may put the verse on the screen and you take it over from here. Hare Krishna.
Om Namo Bhagavati Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavati Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavati Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavati Vasudevaya. Narayana Namaskritam Narayana Narottama. Devi Saraswati Vyasam Tatu Jayam Udiraya. Nasta Praisu Abhadresu Nityam Bhagavatam Sevaya. Bhagavati Uttama Sloke Bhakti Bhavati Naistiki. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd Canto, Chapter 9, Text number 1. Prayers for creative energy. Brahmohuvacha Natosi Medya Sachiram Nano Dehabhajam Najayate Bhagavato Gati Iti Avadyam Nayatwad Asti Bhagavan Apitana Sudam Maya Gunam Vyatikarat Yad Uru Vibhase Brahma Uvacha Jatosi Medya Suchiranano Deabhajam Najnayate Bhagavato Gati Ityavadyam Nayatwadasti Bhagavan Apitana Sudam Maya Gunam Vyatikaratya Uru Vibhasi Vamovacha Jatosi Medyan Suchiranano Deabhajan Najnayate Bhagavato Gati Iti Avadyam Nayatadasti Bhagavana Pitana Sudam Maya Guna Vyatikarat Yat Uru Vibhashi. Word for word translation. Brahma Huacha, Lord Brahma said, Gyata, known, Asi, you are, made by me, Adya, today, Sushirat, after a long time, Namihon, but, the Habhajan of one who has a material body. Na, not. Jayate is known. Bhagavata of the personality of God. Galtihi, cause. Itihi, so it is. Avadiyam, great offense. Na anyahat, none beyond. What you astihi, there is. Bhagavan, oh my Lord. Happy, even though there is. That anything that may be. Na, never. Sudaham, absolute. Mayaha, material energy. Guna vyaktikara, because of the mixture of the modes of yat to wish. Uruhu, transcendental. Vipasi, you are. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Abai Charanarabinde Sibhakti Vedanta Swami Patita Pavan Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Lord Brahma said, "Oh my Lord, today after many, many years of penance, I have come to know about you. Oh, how unfortunate the embodied living entities are that they are unable to know your personality. My Lord, you are the only knowable object because there is nothing supreme beyond you. If there is anything supposedly superior to you, it is not the absolute. You exist as the supreme by exhibiting the creative energy of matter." Purport by His Divine Grace Prabhupada. The highest speak of the ignorance of living entities who are conditioned by material bodies is that they are unaware of the supreme cause of the cosmic manifestation. Different people who have different theories regarding the supreme cause, but none of them are genuine. The only supreme cause is Vishnu, and the intervening impediment is the illusory energy of the Lord. The Lord has employed His wonderful material energy in manifesting many, many wonderful distractions in the material world, and the conditioned souls, illusion by the same energy, are thus unable to know the supreme cause. The most stalwart scientists and philosophers therefore cannot be accepted as wonderful. They only appear wonderful because they are instruments in the hands of the illusory energy of the Lord. Under illusion, the general mass of people deny the existence of the Supreme Lord and accept the foolish products of illusory energy as supreme. One can know the supreme cause, the personality of Godhead, by the causeless mercy of the Lord, which is bestowed upon the Lord's pure devotees like Brahma and those in his disciplic succession. By acts of penance only was the Lord Brahma able to see the Garbhodakasai vision. By realization only could he understand the Lord as he is. Brahma was extremely satisfied upon observing the magnificent beauty and opulence of the Lord. And he admitted that nothing can be comparable to him. Only by penance can one appreciate the beauty and opulence of the Lord. And when one is acquainted with that beauty and opulence, he is no longer attracted by any other. This is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 259. Param Dishwa Nirvatante. Foolish human beings who do not endeavor to investigate the supreme beauty and opulence of the Lord are here condemned by Lord Brahma. It is imperative that every human being try for such knowledge. And if anyone does not do so, his life is spoiled. Anything that is beautiful and opulent in the material sense is enjoyed by those living entities who are like crows. Crows always engage in picking at rejected garbage, whereas the white dogs do not mix with the crows. Rather, they take pleasure in transparent lakes with lotus flowers, surrounded by beautiful orchards. Both crows and ducks are undoubtedly birds by birth, but they are not of the same feather. Omagyanam timiran dasya, gyanam shalakaya, shaksho militam jena tasmai shri gurave namah. Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Tapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupam Kadamayam Dadati Swam Padantikam Vandyam Sri Guru Sri Yuta Pada Kamalam Sri Guru Vaishnavam Swayam Sri Rupa Sakajatan Sahajanam Ratmatam Vitam Tam Sahajivam Sadvitam Savadutam Parijanam Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Kala Alita Visaka Vitamcha He Krishna Karuna Shindu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopi Isha Gopi Kakantara Dakanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangira Devindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Shite Devi Pranamami Nari Priye Vancha Karpataru Vyascha Kripa Sindhuvya Vascha Patitanam Pavashnebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namah. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Sivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare. Lord Brahma said, "Oh my Lord, today, after many years of penance, I have come to know about you. Oh, how unfortunate the embodied living entities are that they are unable to know your personality. My Lord, you are the only knowable object because there is nothing supreme beyond you. If there is anything supposedly superior to you, it is not the absolute. You exist as the supreme by exhibiting the creative energy of matter." Hare Krishna. So we welcome all of the devotees to today's Sangha of Srimad Bhagavatam. It is a great fortune to have this opportunity. Srila Rupa Goswami has glorified, and all the acharyas listening and hearing and speaking about Bhagavatam. Actually, it is said to be the essence of human life. It is said whatever endeavor that a living entity engages in, it reduces his life. But when you speak about Bhagavatam, it increases your life. Not your temporary life, but your spiritual, eternal life. So it is always a great pleasure to have this great opportunity to come in association of devotees, especially to hear about the transcendental glories of God the Lord. And the beauty of this tradition is that both the speaker, the hearer are equally benefited. Whether qualified or unqualified, Srila Prabhupada says, just hear. And Lord Krishna has said, in respect to those who are speakers of Srimad Bhagavatam, sometimes devotee will say, I'm not qualified to speak Srimad Bhagavatam. Yes, but by the statement of the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself, Krishna himself says in the Bhagavad Gita, Tesham Satakta Yuktanam, Vajatam Priti Purvakam, to them who are desiring. He said, I give them the Buddhi Yugantam, I give them the intelligence. So there is no need whether qualified or not qualified, because all we need is just the desire. Once we sincerely desire, all the empowerment and blessings comes onto the listener, whether we are qualified listener, whether unqualified. All that is required is just sincerity in our desire to hear or to speak Srimad Bhagavatam, and Krishna will take care of the remaining. So on this note, I want to request for the blessings of all of the acharyas, starting from Lord Brahma himself, who is the speaker of this verse, and all of the devotees who are assembled here, both who are on the platform and those who are listening from other channels, that I may be able to do this service for my benefit of purification and for the glories of Krishna and his devotees. The verse we're going to be discussing today is very important, and always every verse of the Bhagavatam is, when we eat fruits in material existence, every fruit has a covering. Some fruits, even when you cannot peel off, like apple, you may not peel off the bark. But when you eat, you cannot eat all, because something inside of it, you have to throw out. So whether outside or inside, there is always something to throw out. But Bhagavatam is that there is nothing to throw out. Both the peel, but the fruit itself, the inside of the fruit of Srimad Bhagavatam are all sweet. So it is always transcendental and nourishing, wherever you take Srimad Bhagavatam from. And today, Srila Brahma is talking about three key things. He's talking about the requirement for one who wants to become successful in life. What is success in life? Success in life is when one comes to be able to know Krishna, then his life is settled. So what is required for that? Lord Brahma is talking about it in this verse. And if one is a failure, Lord Brahma is also talking about it. What makes him a failure? And the third aspect of what Lord Brahma is talking in this verse is the glories of those who are engaged in either of both ways. So in this verse, Lord Brahma is speaking. The title of the chapter is talking about the creative energy of Lord Brahma. Recently, I was at a conference, and I have a way of agitating the materialist, as Prabhupada also talked about them in this verse. So I got into the cycle of academicians, and when I got into their midst, I was presenting a paper, going to present a paper. So when I wanted to start, immediately after reciting the citation and all of those stuff, they finished. So the first thing I said was that, I said, after the greetings, exchange of pleasantries, I said, ladies and gentlemen, professors, reverend fathers, imams, and all of those who are gathered here, it was at a seminary somewhere in Kaduna State. So when I said, before I start speaking on the topic given to me today, what if I tell each and every one of you today that whatever you know about religion is incomplete? Will it be considered an insult, a glorification, or a compliment? I said, someone should answer me. They were all silent. I could see different expressions in their face. These are scholars, these are professors of religion. These are graduates of religions. These are established leaders of religions. So I'm telling them that their knowledge of religion is incomplete. So, and I'm asking them, tell me, is it a compliment or an insult or glorification of all of you? They were all looking at their face. There was some face that they became, you could see that they're very angry. What is this man going to talk? In the first place, he's a minority religious person, and they were giving him opportunity to come into this place. And here he's coming to tell us our knowledge of God or religion is incomplete. So I followed up and I told them, I said, look here, I said a futuristic philosopher over 2 decades ago said something which is prominent in today's world. What did that philosopher say? Alvin Toffler, he said that in the 21st century, then we were in the 18th century, he said the illiterate in the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write. They will be those who cannot learn, relearn, and learn again. I said, so when I said your knowledge of religion is incomplete, I'm very assertive when I use that statement, because I know that If you are not glorified by that statement, it means that there's something wrong with your understanding of the topic we're going to be discussing about. And I said, another person, because I was in the academic cycle, so I told them, I said, there is one also powerful, respected philosopher. He said that his name is Tony Robbins. Tony Robbins says that people who succeed in almost everything they pursue in life usually practice these 5 things. There are 5 things they practice. The successful people, whether in any field of life, when you see that someone is successful, check. These 5 things are prevalent. I said in the field of religion, talking about God, there are 5 things that must be, even from the material perspective, must be present in anyone who is considered to be successful. I said the person must develop one thing first, focus. Lord Brahma is teaching us that in this verse. Lord Brahma had the responsibility to create. And he was initially, like every conditioned soul, he was looking here and there, but he had no answers. And because he could not get answer from his search, up, down, left, right, center, he decided to focus himself and he went into meditation. So this is the first quality. Robbins says, Tony Robbins says, for anyone, whether it is business, whether it is spiritual life, whether it's material life, you must develop this focus. Unless you are focused, you are lost. You will not be able to succeed. It is not the character of a successful person. So Lord Brahma is telling us in this verse, Lord Brahma became focused. And the moment he became focused, then other things that Tony Robinson says. Tony Robinson says that the second thing is that you must have a strategic learning. And what the Lord Brahma did, he started learning from Saraswati. He had a voice, tapa, austerity, perform austerity. So I was telling this assembly of scholars and philosophers. So I told them, I said, if you don't have this number 1 and 2, you are nowhere. You cannot be a successful person in any field of, not to talk of even religion that is very highly celebrated and highly rated. Even in material life, you will not be successful. And what is the next? Tony Robinson said, you have to be mentally, physically, energetic. You have to be in a motion, in a movement where you are able to express yourself. Lord Brahma sat in a particular position. The very scriptures explained to us, for you to focus, for you to meditate, for you to perform austerity, you have to take certain level, and that is why the aras and the principles of regulations comes in. You have to be regulated. Tony Robinson says that the number 4 thing that you need to develop is that you have to in devotional service, Lord Krishna is described as Atma Rama. What is the symptom of an Atma? Is self-satisfied. One of the reasons why someone does not become successful in life, whether in spiritual life, in material life, in any field of endeavor, is that once you do not develop attitude of gratitude, you cannot move from one stage to the next. If you do not acknowledge what you have, you cannot go forward, because what will manifest is what Lord Krishna told Arjuna, na society, na shati. Lamentation and anchoring will pervade you. You will not be able to do anything. So for you to be able to reduce or put to the back end, lamentation and anchoring, you have to develop an attitude of gratitude. So Lord Brahma appreciated what he had and he embraced that. One cannot progress either in spiritual life or in material life, in any field of life, if he does not develop an attitude of gratitude. And of course, consistency. Lord Brahma is said to have performed austerity for 1,000 years. Then it became what he is talking about in this verse. So after 1,000 years of austerity, Lord Brahma developed that level of stability, stature. And he said, Ishwara Paramam Krishna Sachidananda Vrigraha Anandyadi Govindam Sarva Karanam Karanam that is realizing that is the fruit of all exhibition of all these qualities of Lord Brahma. So when you apply all of these principles, the next thing is that you become realized. You have to do what? You have to develop focus. You have to be gratitude. You have to develop the right situation. Then only what Lord Brahman says here will be interested. One of the greatest defeats or defects of the living entity is that they don't want to acknowledge their defects. So when I said to them, Srila Prabhupada, I quoted one of Srila Prabhupada's lecture. Prabhupada gave a lecture in 1973 in Germany. He said, for anyone to talk about subject matter of God, for one to be called a religious person, for one to be called religious, he must know God. Unless one knows God, he cannot be called religious. And when you look in the field of religion today, how many people can define God? So Lord Brahma is exhibiting that here. The first thing that Brahma did was that what? Lord Brahma immediately is defining who is God. Unless one knows God, he cannot be called religious, talk less of being spiritual. So Lord Brahma, the first thing he did, the first realization was that he realizes this is who God is. So he said, Ishwara Paraman Krishna, that person who is the controller of all controller, whose body is eternal, full of knowledge and bliss, who is the origin of all origin, who has no origin himself. He is the Supreme Personality of God. This is the beginning. So someone may say, but how can somebody know God as a beginning? We all don't know anything about God. So how can we be saying that the first thing is to do God? That is the first stage. That is the first stage. That is the beginning of spirituality. In fact, it's the beginning of religiosity, not to talk of even spirituality. You have to know God. And that is what Lord Brahma is doing here. What did Lord Brahma do before that? Lord Brahma developed what? The sincerity. He was in every condition soul. We're confused. We do not know. Every conditioned soul is born with 4 defects. We all know this. It's a mantra for all of us, at least in devotion and service. Every conditioned soul has imperfect senses. And because he has imperfect senses, is an illusion. And because in illusion, he doesn't know anything. And one who does not know cannot act properly. Every human being, every living entity is a product of what he or she knows. So Lord Brahma could not do anything because until he develops the knowledge of knowing who the Supreme Personality of God is. And to get there, he exhibited those preliminary qualities. So in the purport of the text today, that is why Srila Prabhupada is starting beautifully. Prabhupada is telling us that the highest peak of the ignorance of the living entities who are conditioned by material body is that they are unaware of the supreme cause of the cosmic manifestation. So Srila Prabhupada is acknowledging the same thing here. We have to know the cause. This is the beginning. But how do we know that? Lord Brahma exhibited it in this verse. In the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna told Arjuna, when he told him about becoming sincere, which is the only required qualification, he said, Tesham evahamukam parantak aham agyanam jantama. Nasayami atma bhavasto gyana dipen baswata. He said, you need not to worry, Arjuna. Why worry about impurity? Why you worry about sinfulness? Why are you worried about limitations? He said, I, who is residing in the region of the earth, I will destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge that darkness which is covering the conditioned soul in the region, because it's hiding in the region of the earth. He said, because I'm seated there, that is where I'm seated. So I will shine the light of my knowledge in there. That's what happened to Lord Brahma. When Lord Brahma was confused, he was looking up and down. He was trying to find out his source. Then because of his sincerity, Krishna come through and he had the word, the power. It is said that one becomes a bhakta the moment it becomes favorable to Krishna through his sincerity. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Brahmananda Brahmite Konya Bhagavan Jiva Guru Krishna Prashade Pai Bhakti Latabija. When the soul is ready, when Lord Brahma became ready, that knowledge, which Krishna promised. He will destroy that ignorance that is rooted in the heart of the conditioned soul. Because as a condition soul, with all of the imperfect senses, what can you ascertain? Someone asked me, sometimes in a lecture, he was asking, he said, it is said that once you approach the beginning of spiritual life, once you approach a bona fide spiritual master, but how do you know who is a bona fide or unbona fide spiritual master? I said, you don't need to look anywhere, because whatever way you look, you will see nothing. And even if you think you have seen nothing, like Prabhupada said in this purport, you only see what? Illusion. Because you are already conditioned. He said, so then how the scriptures now say that we should go and take a spiritual master? He said, no, it is starting from internal. It's internal self that is beginning from. When that birth of desire to know God begins, that is the first desire a candidate of spirituality must develop. When that desire comes, Krishna said, I will come. I will come in between. And when I come there, what will happen? I will destroy. And when you destroy, Ishvara Paraman Krishna, then you become like Krishna. Because you will see Krishna, you will see all his manifestation, and then you start glorifying. Lord Brahma said, Preman Jana Churita Bhakti Vilo Chanina, Santa Sadaiva Vidayeshu Viloka Yanti. Because what? Krishna, who is seated in the heart of that soul, who become pure by the mercy of double mercy of Guru Krishna. His heart has become purified. His eyes can see. He's no longer seeing with the toy eye. When I was speaking in that seminary, I told them, I said, someone should come out. I want to do an experiment. And then they come out. And I told them, I said, look, when I was talking about the 4 imperfections of living entities, every condition soul, because I could see in their face, they were feeling embarrassed. What is all this thing this man is talking about? What is he talking about? I said, your senses are so imperfect that you do not even realize it until when it falls on your face. I said, all of you are here proud that you have some eyes. I said, you come out, come out. And then one of the senior students there came out. And I said, what is on your palm? He said, there are lines. I said, take the hands closer to your eyes. I said, tell me how many lines you have here. I said, I cannot see anything. I said, no, take it closer. You see. I said, did you close your eyes? I said, no, close your eyes. He said, I didn't close my eyes. I said, no, take it closer. At least, according to our material consideration, the closer we have, the more we see. I said, take it closer to your eyes. You see. He said, no, I'm not seeing anything. I said, that is the imperfection of your senses. By the living entity effort, by his endeavor, he cannot see anything. Where will he see it? Where will he hear it? Where will that perfection come from? It cannot come. Because why? Only Krishna is the seeing, is the one, through the eye of Krishna we see. And that is why he said in the Bhagavad Gita 18, Bhagavad Gita chapter 15, 19. And then he said, that one who knows me without doubt, he knows everything. There's nothing left for him to know. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada is telling us that one can know the supreme cause, the personality of Godhead, by the causeless mercy of the Lord, which is bestowed upon the Lord, which is bestowed upon the Lord's pure devotee, like Brahma and those in the disciplic succession. It is not by the efforts. What can your effort do? It is only by the mercy of the Lord himself. He himself will make that happen. When we take to the path of spirituality, sometimes we think that the longer we stay in devotion and service, the more we become advanced. No. And that's someone might say, but how do you mean that? The fact is this, that material nature is so expert, and that is what Papa is going to say next. Because the more you get in close, the more material energy, Maya Devi, she becomes more strong. Because Maya Devi wants to take you back to Krishna. So he wants to see you, purify you. He wants to make you be sure that you are ready for the journey. And that is why it is said, Srila Gurudev mentioned that in his book, Surrender, that the most difficult to achieve in the part of devotional service. In fact, it is the last straw of endeavor in devotional service. Once you cross that point, then you are opportune to enter into the lila of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is false ego. It's the thickest, very difficult. And that's why Krishna himself says in Bhagavad Gita, he confirms what Buddha is saying. Krishna says, Devi yesa gunamayi mama maya duratiya. Mami vaye prapadyante mayam etam tarantite. You can't do it. It's not within your reach. It's not your cup of tea. Only Krishna gives that. But to get it, you have to position yourself. And that is why Krishna said, when you get this, what happens? You surrender unto me. There is no any cause. There is no preaching is required. So one student asked me a question. He was saying, he said, so when you said that our Christianity, our Islam is not religion, it's just our faith. So then, and you said already that we have imperfect senses. Our senses are incapable of being able to understand God. You are equally say we need to know God for us to be able to become spiritual. So what are we going to do then? What is your Krishna consciousness teaching me? In your understanding, you've enumerated the fruit of spirituality. I was quoting Galatians chapter 5, 22, 23. I was telling them, I said, these are the symptoms of spirituality. That is it, what reflects yourself. And you have said all of these things. And you nicely explained the symptoms of a devotee. So one is very attracted to this devotee quality. Like many of us are attractive to it. He said, so then if I'm so attractive to it, so how do I get there? Just be sincerely desiring to attain Krishna. All of this will come. Because when Krishna sees that sincerity, he said what? I will send the bona fide spiritual master. In the 5th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Maharaj Priyavatra, when Maharaj Parikshit, when he had the narration of his life from Sukadev Goswami, he was bewildered. He said, tell me something. He said, you said he was very austere, he was very detached. But then, as he becomes a king and he was ruling in a pious way, he becomes attached again. But then later he becomes detached. He said, I can't understand what you're saying. Please explain it to me. How is this, does this happen? And Sukadev Goswami, he was telling that when one takes to the path of spirituality, in the 5th canto, when you look at his first chapter, the verses are between the 10th and the 12th verses. Sukadev is explaining how this miracle of spiritual life manifests. In the beginning of devotional service, we're struggling like anything because here the verse today is talking very elaborately on austerity. And most of us, we are so enamored by trying to become austere that we lose devotional service itself. Sometimes we now becoming regulative principles. Prabhupada is saying towards the end of the purport, all these regulative principles are not something for a devotee. It is important only as long as you are not yet there. It is for those who are neophytes. Because these regulations, we are trying to keep regulations. Many sages, many personalities in the past have tried to be austere. When we look at the life of Kamsa, Kamsa was the avowed enemy of Lord Krishna. But what was the quality of Kamsa? Because he was constantly thinking about Krishna. Krishna was facilitating his desire to manifest. Kamsa was not able to do anything without Lord Narada Muni coming to him. Whenever now that when Kamsa was going to deviate from the course of his duty, his duty, which he has assumed based on his desire, when he wants to deviate, it's still Narada Muni that will come and redirect him. So in whichever way, Krishna is going to always send. So whether we want to be devotee or we want to be a Hare Krishna devotee or we want to become a pure devotee, all is dependent on our desires. And that is why Lord Krishna said desires and mind was strong in Krishna's preaching to Arjuna. From the first chapter to the sixth chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna was emphasizing the state of consciousness, the state of consciousness, the state of consciousness. And in chapter 6, he concluded by saying, your mind is your friend and is your enemy. No one can be austere without the grace of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna is saying, Prabhupada is emphasizing in this purport that it is only by the grace of the Lord. So in the last part of the purport, Srila Prabhupada was saying that foolish human beings who do not endeavor to investigate the supreme beauty and opulence of the Lord are here condemned by Lord Brahma. It is imperative that every living human being try for such knowledge. And if anyone does not do so, his life is spoiled. Anything that is beautiful and opulent in the material sense is enjoyed by those living entities who are like crows. That's an interesting verse. Sometimes devotees are said to be austerity. Prabhupada is explaining this purport. It's not a dry life. Whatever is here is enjoyed by those persons who are like crows. The devotee is enjoying everything. The devotee is not detached. The devotee is always attached. In the beginning of spiritual life, everybody was struggling to become detached. But the devotee wants to be attached. Because by becoming attached to Krishna, detachment manifests automatically as a byproduct. So one of the challenges in the spiritual life, especially when we're in the neophyte stages, that we're trying to detach from so many things. But that is the problem. Don't try to be detached because you will never be able to do it. Just become attached to Krishna and every other thing will follow it. And that's what Jesus Christ also said in the Bible. Seek ye the kingdom of God and his righteousness. Every other thing shall be added unto it for you. Devotees enjoyed everything and everything. There is nothing in restriction for a devotee. So when we hear austerity, the next thing that comes to mind, austerity, tapa is undoubtedly, but the austerity of a devotee is in trying to get Krishna. In the 10th canto, Srimad Bhagavatam, when Sukadev Goswami, when he was narrating the lives of the pastimes of Krishna and the gopis, and he said, this Krishna, what kind of a God is this? By Vedic standard, by the scriptures, which is the Vedic standard, the Vedic scripture says one should not associate with other person's wife. But the supreme personality of God, who is considered to be the supreme person, the supreme pure, here, one is considered impure even by thinking of another person's wife. But the supreme pure himself here is what? Is romancing, is dancing in the night, in the groups with others' wife. He said, how can one understand this? Because Krishna, whatever he touches becomes purified. And Prabhupada gave an example of the sun. When the sun sets itself on anything, the sun does not get contaminated. Rather, it purifies whatever it touches. So when one becomes contact with Krishna, whatever one touches becomes purified automatically. So the real austerity is that one should become attached to Krishna. Just look for that blue boy who is always behaving in the material sense rascally. And our attraction to that blue boy will manifest all of the desires of spiritual perfection that we desire in Krishna consciousness. So Srila Prabhupada ended the purport by nicely explaining the qualities of the pure devotees, like I said in the beginning. It's a proper focus. And he said anything that is beautiful and opulent in material sense is enjoyed by those living entities who are like crows. crows always engage in picking at rejected garbage. Whereas the white dogs, oh, sorry, I kept on saying crows, sorry. I meant the Papa described devotees as the dog and the materialists as the crows, sorry. Whereas the white dogs do not mix with the crows, rather they take pleasure in transparent lakes with lotus flower, surrounded by beautiful orchards. Both crows and dogs are undoubtedly birds and by birds, but they are not the same. They are not of the same feather. They cannot be considered to be equal. Because the devotee-like dog is pure transcendental. Because what? Of his embracing the power of Krishna in Krishna consciousness. This is my understanding of this verse. So the highest level of austerity, in summary, is that one becomes attached to Krishna. And automatically, detachment, all forms of austerity will manifest. The gopis of Vrindavan were not austere. They were attracted to Krishna. And the attraction to Krishna, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu glorifies them. There is no devotion that can be compared to the devotion of the gopis. But these are married women, young girls going after a young boy. How can one understand this? Unless one comes into the transcendental platform of Krishna consciousness. Haribo. Thank you very much for listening, giving me this opportunity. If there are any mistakes or corrections, please kindly do. Chastisement is welcome. Corrections are welcome. If there are some questions or need for clarification from whatever I've said so far, please kindly come forward. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much, Salika Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah. As always, thank you for stepping in within the short minutes because Maharaj couldn't be here. So, dear devotees, if anyone may have questions, comments, reflections, realizations you may want to ask or share, please indicate by using the hand emoji or your physical hand, and you'll be asked to unmute to ask your question or share your reflections. Hare Krishna. Well, this is Lord Brahma speaking.
Yes.
Oh, sorry. We have Ganga Prashad Prabhu stand up. Ganga Prashad Prabhu, please you may unmute.
Hare Krishna, Sahadev Prabhu, Dandava Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
Salika Prabhu, Dandava Pranam. Thank you very much for the very vibrant class.
Thank you very much.
As we're reading through the purports, something just crossed my mind. And that is relating what Lord Brahma said and what we have in the world order today, especially like in our environment. Everybody wants to go to the university. There's competition to take JAMB. And some people are forced by JAMB to do courses that they don't even aspire in any way. Okay? And here Lord Brahma is saying, there is nothing other than you that is worthy object of knowledge. Although Prabhupada said it, that there is no institution anywhere in the world that there is teaching about God. Okay? So why the educational system? That's my question. Why the educational system everywhere in the world when people don't learn about God? And here Lord Brahma is saying, there is nothing other than you that is worthy of knowledge.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji. It's a beautiful question, and is it interesting? Your question makes me remember some few things. In Nigeria, particularly, there was a news 2 days ago, or some few days back, this week, JAMB was sharing the report of the exams that was last week. Out of 1.5 million people that enrolled for that exam, JAMB says 1.2 million out of them scores below the average. And somebody was asking, this is a repeated situation over time and over time. So why is it so? Is it that the JAMB examination is something outside of what is being taught in the school? Or because the ratio is not matching, how can 1.2 out of 1.5 be below? Is it that the education, the schools are not teaching, or what is the problem? Then I answered like a devotee, which is similar to the question Prabhu is asking. When someone has no knowledge of what he wants to do, in other words, let us put it in the right perspective. When somebody is a mad person, what do you expect from such a person? When we call somebody a madman or a mad woman, what do we mean? It means that person is out of sense, is abnormal. And every living entity in this material is abnormal. And because of their abnormality, and the abnormality is increasing on a daily basis, so they have lost the basis for what is knowledge. Although they think they are trying to be a madman, is packing with his two hands in the gutter, carrying all kinds of garbage. And he's thinking that I'm doing something wonderful. But the same person is saying, why is he? Oh God, he's mad. That's why he can do like that. So an average person, 99.999% of everyone on this material world is in the same situation of madness. And because of that madness, as a result of the illusion that is covering the living entities, so he's thinking light to be darkness, darkness to be light. So although they know, because they are part and parcel of Krishna, that there is need for knowledge, but they do not know what constitutes knowledge. So their endeavor is defeated, and that is what your Papa said in the purport, that anyone who does not have the opportunity to pursue this path of knowledge, his life is already spoiled. So everyone on this earth planet, exception of some few 0.0001% of the population of the world, are in madness situation. And a madman does not do things right. So although the madman is never at any time less busy than any other person, he's always working. So everybody is struggling to be knowledgeable, but what constitutes knowledge they don't know. And that's what I was sharing in the beginning of the class. When I get to the university, when I told them whatever you think you know is incomplete about religion, they felt offended like anything. Because they think that now we are professors of religion, we are authority. But when I asked them the simple basic, who are you? They could not tell. So I did one thing. I did so many practical things in the course of that paper because I knew I was in the academy and I like to do that. Just to bring them to reality. So I said, one person should come. And I said, touch your head, touch your stomach, touch your back. And he's touching. I said, touch yourself. He couldn't touch himself. I said, this is it. You don't even know who you are. So how can you talk about something that is outside of you? Religion is not from you. Only Krishna gives religion. And you don't even know yourself. But you want to know what other person says. It's not possible. So what the word constitutes to be knowledge is ignorance. And what they consider to be ignorance is religion. It's knowledge. So that is the problem. So the challenge here is that everyone is in mad situation. That is what the scriptures also says. Because they are mad, they are completely insane. So they're considering ignorance to be knowledge and knowledge to be ignorance. And that is why the world is in turmoil. Yesterday, we were in a global peace meeting, one of the UN bodies, and we're discussing of peace education. And then when I had the opportunity to speak, and I said, look, we're gathered here. I said, how much dollars is United Nations spending on peace education yearly? And they were telling me, it runs into billions of dollars. And I said, so in the last 10 years, how much level of peace as the world developed. And so the host answered me. He said, it has become even worse. We're going further and further. The more we are pursuing peace, the further it's going away from us. And I said it will continue to go further because the foundational basis of what brings about peace is lost. Unless one knows the self, there cannot be peace anywhere, because until when you know the self, then you can become happy. And I quoted Bhagavad Gita chapter 2, text number 66. And I said, look, read this verse again and again. Bhagavad Gita is online. For those of you who don't have it, go and check 266 and then read it and read it deeply. Unless you have understanding of who you are, how can you be happy? And when you're not happy, how can you be peaceful? Peacefulness is a result of happiness, but you are already in lamentation or anchoring situation. How can you be happy? It's not possible. It's not meant for you. So the world as it is today is not meant to be peaceful, because what we constitute as knowledge is ignorance. So I said, on a massive scale, if we want to achieve the goal of peace educators, as we claim to be, I said, I'm happy to be part of this global forum, but let us go back and teach what is the self. Let us go back to the basis. Let us start from the foundation. Who are you? Let us teach. Leo Tolstoy says that the foundational basis of any religious or any knowledge is that one asks a question, who am I? Who you are? I said this is a philosopher, it's not a religious person, but we do not listen to this sort of advice. So Prabhuji, the question is what a devotee asks. But the reality is that 99.9% of persons in the world are in a mad situation, a crazy situation. So they don't understand what is right from left. They don't know what is light or darkness. They don't know what is truth or lies. So therefore, they consider ignorance to be knowledge, and they pursue it to a greater extent. And Maya Devi is encouraging them like anything, because she doesn't want them to be a nuisance in the abode of the Lord. I hope I answered your question, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu, just for the records and for sharing. In Bhagavad Gita 1122, because it's related to education. Prabhupada said, the people are so busy with sense gratification that they completely forget about self-realization, which is what you just said now. Know yourself. Out of Monday, they frankly say that there is no need for self-realization because they do not know or realize that this brief life is but a moment on our great journey towards self-realization. The whole system of education is geared to sense gratification. And if a learned man thinks it over, he sees that the children of this age are being intentionally sent to the slaughterhouses of so-called education. So, and Prabhupada said, learned men, therefore, must be cautious of this age. Learned men, therefore, must be cautious of this age. So we are in between the devil and the deep sea. What you are seeing today, many of our youths, they are beginning to broker some understanding. What is the gain of going to school? There's a protest going on now. It may not have become very outrageous. But children don't want to go to school again because they think it is money that is running society. Certificate will not bring money on the table or food on the table. So they are not reluctant to say, I don't want to go to school. But they cannot explain it deep like this, that education is not really giving what it should give. So onus is on us as devotees because we have this. We should systematically find ways or evolve ways and means to share this. And we should not be intimidated because, like you said, what is irreligious will be glorified as religious. And what is religious will be discarded as irreligious. But onus is on us. That is the clarion call. And that's why Mahaprabhu's instruction, the clarion mission, Yaredeka, Tarekaha, Krishna Upadesh. Wherever you go, whomsoever you meet, tell the people about Krishna as it is enjoined in Srimad Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam. And when you do this, Amara Ajnaya Hara Edisa, Guru Hanatara Edisa, you become the guru to save the land. So we need gurus to save the land. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Prabhu.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for the contributions. You nailed it on the head. And we're very happy that we have you in this sangha. Thank you so much.
Well, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you for the question and the answer to the question. Anyone else with something to ask or to share? I had a question, but I think I'm going to drop that for now and follow up with Ganga Prasad Prabhu's question and your answer, Salika Prabhu. The question, the answer seems that all education other than spiritual education, knowing Krishna, is a waste of time. I do not see it that way. So I would like you to help me understand it the way you explained it. Because Srila Prabhupada is called an acharya. He teaches by example. He does not say one thing and then he does another thing. We all accept that Srila Prabhupada is a Nitya Siddha, which means that there was never a point in time that he was not in touch with Krishna. But he attended secular education. He enrolled in secular education. I am sitting here, you are sitting there, he is sitting there. We are able to hold conversation, study Srimad Bhagavatam because of this same useless secular education. Because English is not my first language. English is not your first language. English is not her first language. But because of this useless education, we are able to come here together. So my understanding is that incomplete does not mean useless. So having material education is incomplete in the sense that we are not taught about Krishna and our relationship with Krishna in much details as Sanatana Dharma does. But to me, that does not make it useless. So if you want to shed some light on this, please, you may do that, because if it were useless, Srila Prabhupada shouldn't have attended secular education. And if it was useless, and Srila Prabhupada attended secular education, and he is telling us that it's useless, that would not mean that Srila Prabhupada is an acharya. And I refuse to not accept that Srila Prabhupada is not an acharya. He is an acharya. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Srimad Prabhu. Thank you for bringing out these thoughts. And it's interesting, that is the purpose of Bhagavatam. It's question and answer. And who is a better philosopher? Who is not a devotee of the Krishna? Srila Prabhupada said clearly in the purport that in the last paragraph, that if anyone does not do so, his life is spoiled. What is the definition of spoiled? Something is spoiled. It has no value. And something that has no value is useless. Material education is useful only when it as a foundation of knowledge of Krishna. What is the material education giving? Frustration, anxiety, stress, and all that you can see negativity in the world. If you find anywhere where someone is educated and is living a peaceful life, it is because it is rooted in Krishna consciousness. So when we say it is useless, it is not saying that it is not important or it is not. And when, let me ask you a rhetoric question, because I know you know the answer. What is material knowledge? Aham sarvasya prabhava, aham sarvasya prabhava, mata sarva prabhavate, iti macho bhajante man, buddha bhava samavita. Everything is emanating from me, Krishna. So there is nothing like material knowledge in the real sense of it. Material knowledge means that which is disconnected from Krishna. And whatever is disconnected from Krishna is useless because it will only give what? Suffering. And that's why the Papa used the word sport. So when we say material knowledge is useless, it means that it does not give any substance that benefits the self. Because whatever does not give pleasure to the self only gives about only nothing other than pain. And whatever gives us only pain is useless because we are not meant to be painful. We're not meant to be suffering. We are not meant to be distressed. We are not meant to be frustrated. We are meant to be enjoyed. Ananda Maya Biyasat. We are pleasure-seeking entity because we are part and parcel of that pleasurable personality of God. So Lord Brahma is saying in this very verse we are reading today, he's saying what? He said, oh my Lord, today, after many, many years, I have come to know about you. Oh, how unfortunate the embodied living entities are that they are unable to know you your personality. This is a statement of Lord Brahma. So until and when one is able to know this knowledge of the self, which leads to the super self knowledge, is useless. It gives only what? Repeated birth and death. And there is no end to it. And that's why it's called ocean of samsara. Ocean is used because no one can measure the breadth and length of an ocean. And sometimes they use the word limitless ocean. So what? And this is not meant for the soul. The soul is not meant to be directionless. And that is why in the beginning also, in the beginning of the lecture, I was mentioning how Lord Brahma exhibited that symptoms. Lord Brahma was looking Ita and Theta, trying to find answer. But he didn't get. In material knowledge, everybody is searching for something, only one thing. Whether they're trying to be academician in the school field of teaching, or as a doctor, as a lawyer, or whatever they are trying, all they are looking for is happiness. But they will never be happy. Krishna Bhakta Nishkami, Ataiva Santa, Bhukti, Mukti, Siddhi Kami, Sakale, Asanta, they are already cursed. They will never be happy. And unhappiness is not the nature of the soul. So that which does not give you the pleasure of the self is useless. So when we say material knowledge is useless, it does not mean that it is not, or it is separated from Krishna. It becomes useful. Just like Prabhupada said, a billion zeros written is useless without one between it or before it. Even if you put one after a billion zero, it started adding value at that point. But without the one, you write unlimited zeros, not just billions. It is useless. It has no value. So material education is useless. It has no value. In my own establishment here, currently I have 3 youth servers, youth corpers, as we call them. They are graduates from different degrees. And they come here. They come to learn how to bake bread. So one of them, he was a little bit smart. So he asked me a question one day. He said, if I knew And so I was teaching them, I was giving them orientation training. So I was telling them that a 12-year-old can bake bread. It's not a skyrocketed science. All you need is just these basic principles. So the young man told me, he said, so why did I waste so many years only to come and learn how to bake bread that a 12-year-old person can do? He said, is it not a waste of my life? He said, I'm just thinking of myself. Let me forget the sufferings I go through in the primary school and secondary school. In the university alone, I had to go through so many strikes to study what? He studied biochemistry. After studying biochemistry in the secondary school, in the university, and graduated with second class upper. And he said, I have to come back and learn how to bake bread to earn a living. You see, it's not just, how do one explain this? That is where Ganga Prasad Babu is coming from. Because no matter how much educated you are, you end up becoming what? A laborer, which is the fourth class person. And most of people are even less than a laborer these days because they have no skills. A laborer has a skill, but the modern day education does not give you any skills. It's just information gathering. You cram information, you write it down, and you are passed. But there is nothing like even material education today, because in the previous days, 50 years, 70 years ago, 40 years ago, when you thought you are going to school, you learn skills. And education is said to be what? Accumulation of skills and information. But our education today does not give you any skills. You just gather informations. And that is why when you go to university, when you graduate, they said he is found worthy of character. Because education is supposed to develop character in you. And when your education does not bring that character in you, it's just a waste of time. So it's useless because it's going to make you become like animal. In recent times, so many professors were fired from the university. And one of them, a very high-level professor, he has been a professor for over 15 years. You know how many years it takes before he gets to graduate, before he becomes a master, before he becomes a doctor, then he becomes a professor. And after that, he has been a professor for almost 15 years. And he was shamefully sacked from the university because of immoral act of forcing himself on a young student that he was supposed to be teaching. And he could not bear the shame. He ended up committing suicide. Is that not useless? What is the value of that? Is education. He has spent over 50 years of his life being educated, becoming an associate professor, only to commit murder because of what? Because he could not even bear the shame. So material education, I repeat, is useless unless it is associated with Krishna or knowledge of the self, in the word of Srila Prabhupada, as quoted by Ganga Prasad Prabhu. So material knowledge is useful only when it has an addition of Krishna consciousness. As long as it's not connected to Krishna or the knowledge of the self, it's not added to it. It is no knowledge, and it's a waste of time as far as the soul is concerned. And we are not this body, we are spirit souls. I hope I tried.
Of course, you tried. Thank you. But I'm not satisfied in the sense that your explanation doesn't seem to coincide with what Srila Prabhupada stands for.
Okay.
In the sense that, like I asked, Srila Prabhupada is a Nitya Siddha, eternally. He did not come to America and he became Nitya Siddha. He was Nitya Siddha from the very beginning of birth. And therefore, whatever he did was perfect. So him going to secular school was perfect. He did not go to school to go and study Krishna. He knew that there is no Krishna being taught in the school. So why did he go to the school? That is my question. I am trying to be a devotee. You are trying to be a devotee. He is trying to be a devotee. She is trying to be a devotee. And if we all accept that secular education is useless, why would we want to give something useless to our children? Does that mean that we don't want our children to have secular education? I don't think so, because Srila Prabhupada encouraged devotees to actually go to universities and preach to university students. So I'm thinking we should be paying very close attention to what we say based on what we are reading from the scriptures, because there are I opened Vanicodes, so many places where Srila Prabhupada talks about education. He
Okay.
talks about
Further from
different levels of education. So what I'm not very comfortable with is the uselessness.
Okay.
I will
Let,
end
let me
here because
let me respond to you
there are
like this.
two hands up.
Let
Okay.
me, yes, before that, let me just respond briefly to you. Then we allow Ganga Prasad Prabhu and Simon Varaya Prasad. We are not proposing. My spiritual master encourages all of his disciples to go to university, get degrees. If those who are already degree holder, he encourages them to get masters and doctorate degree. We are not campaigning against going to material education. We campaigning that, if possible, our children should go to a devotional school where they will have both spiritual and material knowledge. That is what Shilarupa Goswami gives in Nectar of Instruction. But if they cannot, we should give them spiritual education at home, get the material education to give them exposure to how to apply the spiritual knowledge they are getting. But what we are saying here is not that one should not go to school, but we are saying that going to school becomes a useless endeavor if there is no foundation of Krishna or Krishna consciousness in that, which teaches about self-realization. So going to school is not what we're not saying that the school, going to the process of going to educate, material education, learning material education is useless in itself. It is useless if it has no basis of Krishna consciousness. And from the question that Ganga Prasad asked, it was very explicit. Everyone is going to school, but those schools has no spiritual education. And even when there is supposedly a spiritual education, it is ignorance they are proposing, they are teaching in the name of religion. I was just sharing in an academy. It's not even just an academic university. It's a seminary where degrees are awarded to people to become reverend fathers, religious scholars, and all of that. But they cannot effectively define what is religion. So even when they claim that they are having spiritual subject matter like religiosity, they do not know what is religion, not to talk of the essence of religion. Religion in itself is a means of linking the soul with the super soul. But the real business starts when the link happens. Yoga is to link. But after linking, then real activity started. That is why Lord Krishna told Arjuna, Brahma Bhuta Prasana Atma Na Sushati Na Kankshati Samasabeshu Bhukteshu Samasabeshu Bhukteshu Madbhakti Labate Param. When you get to that state where you have linked yourself with spirituality, then at that moment, real activities of the soul begins. Bhakti. So until when you get there, real activities of the soul does not happen. We deliberately continuously does those things that puts him in pain, sufferings. So we are saying here, not that school should not be there, but as long as the school or the educational institution does not have the teachings of Krishna consciousness, or what we call the ABC of knowledge, which is who you are. I'm not the body, I'm spirit soul. That so-called educational institution is a slaughterhouse, like Prabhupada called it. It is not an educational institution. They become an educational institution only, they can be classified in Krishna consciousness perspectives only when they are teaching knowledge of the self. So, and that is what Prabhupada himself says, and that's what Prabhupada condemned. He said, the whole world, no institution of learning is teaching about this basic knowledge of who you are. Prabhupada himself said that. So Prabhupada never said don't go to school, but he condemned the school because they do not teach the foundational basis of education, which is who you are. That is what we are saying. I hope it is clear. Ganga Prashad Prabhu wants to say something. Okay, Mahaksha Prabhu. Ganga Prashad Prabhu, please pardon me. Mahaksha Prabhu has not asked anything. Yes, go ahead, Mahaksha Prabhu.
Sriman Prabhu wanted to say something.
But
Mahaksha Prabhu may go.
Yeah,
we
please.
apologize.
He's raising his hand as I was. Yeah, Mahaksha Prabhu.
It's up to you. Thank you.
Yeah.
I would like to respond to the point about Srila Prabhupada as Nitya Siddha, and that the point was that if he is Nitya Siddha, then whatever he does is like example for us. Yes, definitively. Nevertheless, we can take it also from opposite side. Like Srila Prabhupada went to school, then Srila Prabhupada had business with pharmaceutics, and the business failed. One factory was stolen by managers, and money from another factory was stolen by Prabhupada's wife. Prabhupada was thinking that he will utilize this money for spreading Krishna consciousness, but it didn't happen. So then, when he, let's say, fully surrendered to preaching mission, then he became successful. So I would like to say that it's not that Prabhupada wasn't Nitya Siddha, he is, but Krishna teach us through pure devotees what's really important, or giving us examples so we can see that by this material education and material effort, Srila Prabhupada wasn't successful. And it doesn't make Prabhupada not Nitya Siddha. It's just example for us. He's teaching us what's important by his personal examples, same like Pandavas, same like Mahabharata, is teaching us. Even Krishna personally teach us in different situations. So yes, we can follow definitively. If we go to material education, we must all the time have some material education, like how to drive car, even how to open door, how to read. It's there, it's written in Ishopanishad 11 words that sadhu must have 50% of spiritual education and 50% of material education. So, because how you would live in this material body if you don't have material education? How you would eat, how you would cook. But if it is not for connected to Krishna, it will be useless, because finally we die and we will not go to spiritual world. We must ask ourselves, what's the point to sending our children to higher or whatever education? What's the point? What will be result? Are they going to better person? Are they going to be spiritual person? Do they chant? I see many devotees, they are very happy that their children are in colleges. But if you ask them if the children continue to chanting japa, no, not really. So what's the really, so the parents must ask, what's the point? Generally, we want high education because we want enjoy, we want become rich, we want become powerful, we want position. Yeah, so that's the main point why we going to education. Why we cannot be just farmers? oh, farmer is not so big position. So if you will become some engineer, you will have big money and big position. So farming is also material education, and you can live very peacefully. So it's really dangerous. Like if you send children to material education without spiritual consciousness, you can lose the child forever. Like he can become really materialistic. We can see in previous, like in history of ISKCON, it's all the time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mahaksha Prabhu, for the contribution. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.
You will go to Ganga Prasad Prabhu. Sriman Vara Prabhu, please pardon us.
Yeah.
Allow Sriman Vara Prabhu to speak, because I just want to help in navigating. Let Vara Prabhu give us insight also.
Okay. Sriman Vara Acharya Prabhu, please.
Yeah.
I think we have had a very nice explanation on both sides. But just one thing that I want to remind us, especially devotees in Nigeria, when we say Western education is useless, there is a parallel organization, terrorist organization, just at Boko Haram. So be careful so that we don't fall in the category of Boko Haram. But I think understanding is already been explained both sides. You're all advancing very cogent points. Maybe if I have to contribute a small thing, I just want to say that, like Mahasha Prabhu said, Anyadeva Vidyaya, Anyadahu Avidyaya. It is Susunam Dhyana. So Upanishads said we should learn side by side spiritual knowledge and
Phenomenal.
we should learn them together side by side.
Science.
So yes, science. Yeah. So in ultimate analysis, nothing is bad. Everything is good. So it depends on how we use it. So we usually say knife. Do you say knife is bad? It depends on whose hand it is. So even the material education, we're using that right now. We're using that to be able to advance Krishna consciousness. So it depends on how we're using this thing. So ultimately, everything that is used for Krishna, that is what both of you are saying.
Yeah.
Everything that is used for Krishna, then it gets its perfection. When it's not used for Krishna, it's useless. Everything, anything that is not used for Krishna is useless. But everything has its use. So ultimately, everything can be used. But ultimately, even poison has its own usefulness. Ultimately, thank you, Hare Krishna.
Thank you. And before Ganga Prasad, thank you very much for that contribution. And I want to reference again where I ended the class earlier on. And I quoting Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada said in the last paragraph of the purport that anything that is beautiful and opulent in a material sense is enjoyed by those living entities who are like crows. Crows always engage in picking at rejected garbage, whereas the white dogs do not mix with the crows. So Prabhupada is using this analogy here to emphasize how material education can be very powerfully attractive, but it's only attractive to those who are dying, who are repeating birth and death, samsara. But the living entity who are devotees, they don't take everything, but they take everything because everything belongs to Krishna. So and that's what it's all about, that knowledge becomes useful only when they are connected to Krishna. Ganga Prasad Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I have to applaud you, Sahade Prabhu. Thank you for this churning. Thank you. That is your niche. And that's why you are an emeritus now. And the situation is that Prabhupada did not go to secular school because he wanted. Prabhupada, it is parental responsibility to send our children to school. So first, he was exposed to the parent. That's what Prabhupada said in that purport. that the system of education is there to send, and the children are being intentionally sent to slaughterhouses. The parents are doing, the children did not go to slaughterhouse on their own. That's one point of understanding. And the second thing is to address the understanding. Prabhu Mahaksha said it, Prabhu Vara said it. Isopanita also mentioned we should culture science and science side by side, which is a balancing. And that balancing point is where you stand, by my understanding, I may be wrong. But if I did not go through school, I will not encounter devotees and pick Bhagavad Gita and sit in my recluse and study the whole translation of Bhagavad Gita in 1 week. This is my experience. I was into smoking, drinking, drugs, and all of this. But for 1 week, I put all of that on the side because I need some concentration to understand. After reading the whole translation of Bhagavad Gita in 1 week, the first thing that crossed my mind was to romance a cigarette. And I lit a stick of cigarette, but there was distaste. Immediately I lit the cigarette. That is the last cigarette I smoked in this lifetime. Not because somebody told me of a regulative principle or anything. No, there was natural distaste. And then the Bhagavad Gita made me go to temple again because the book was given to me in the temple. And I asked them, what do you people do here? And they said, if you want to know, you have to sleep here. Sleeping there that night in Pune was how I started sleeping in the temple till today. So yes, education is useful because it helps you to interact or you peruse logic. And also the children are not going to school because it is their own decision. If you look very closely, the first day a child goes to school, he doesn't want to go. He objects to it. He wants to run back with the parents. It's against his will. So this is the balancing. And I thank everybody who contributed. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Yeah, Hare Krishna.
Haribol.
Thank you all. If I may revisit Mahaksha Prabhu's beautiful contribution. Thank you for sharing that, Mahaksha Prabhu. There was one time His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj was speaking to students. I believe it was Pune, just like Ganga Prasad Prabhu referenced where he first received Bhagavad Gita and slept in the temple. And that has been the consequence. He is still sleeping in the temple till today. So Maharaj was speaking to students in Pune. And one student, I believe I mentioned this here some time ago, and some devotees said they've watched that video, where one of the students rose up and kind of disrespectfully questioned Maharaj. Why are you asking all of us to become sannyasis, to become monks? If we all became monks, how is this going to happen? How is that going to happen? Who is going to farm? Who is going to make cars? Who is going to make computers? Who is going to do medicine? And lots of the students were clapping for him. So Maharaj knew that this guy is popular in the school. So Maharaj said, I never said that. I never said everybody should become a celibate like myself. I am saying, referencing His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj, I am saying that we should have some people who are celibates. We should have some people who are IT. We have some people who are this, who are that. And everybody should do well in their respective positions, situations. So when we are here saying that because it is the parents' responsibility to take their kids to school, we know that if someone respects someone out of fear, then a point may come where that person may not fear that person anymore and the respect will be gone. But if someone respects another person out of love, then under all circumstances, the respect is going to be there. And so what I am saying is that if Srila Prabhupada was even forced by his parents to go to school, he grew up, he became an adult. He could have withdrew himself from school, but he never did. When he was doing medicine, he was an adult.
Pharmacy.
Yes, a pharmacy, medicine, yeah. He was an adult. And when he was practicing medicine, he was not practicing it to become perfect in Krishna consciousness. He was practicing that to earn a livelihood to take care of the family, which is also part of living in this material world. But what I think we're getting a little wrong in this discussion is that we are assuming that everything is supposed to be meant for spirituality, which is not the case, because I cannot expect to use machete in the ocean, but machete can be used in the forest. That is its purpose. So it will be improper to say that machete is useless because I cannot use it in the ocean. So if we say that material education is useless in pursuit of spirituality or spiritual life, then that will make sense to me. But to make it a blanket statement that material education is useless doesn't sound right to me. It's not useless because it can be used in the service of Krishna. And again, if I go back to SALIKA Prabhu, he was saying it that because we are not using something in the service of Krishna, it is useless. And if something is connected to Krishna, it's useful. The same Sri Upanishad tells us that everything has come from Krishna and everything is whole and complete. So if everything has come from Krishna, how is it that now we say that this is not coming from Krishna? Everything is coming from Krishna, but some things are not meant for us as human beings to use in a particular way. That is my understanding. Because Maya, we associate with Maya. Maya is also Krishna. So why do we say when we are associating with Maya, we are not associating with Krishna? We are not associating with Krishna because Krishna does not want us to associate with that energy in this material world. So the bottom line, I do not want to be the preacher. The bottom line, as I understand, is that everything is useful depending on what it is meant to be used for. And farming, being on the, let's say, being in the air, being astrophysicist, being whatever, is all useful if they can be dovetailed in the service of Krishna. There are some people who join Hare Krishna movement. Hare Krishna movement is supposed to be like the highest spiritual organization on earth, but they will be the first to go to hell. And I'm not the one saying that. Bhaktivinoda is saying that. Srila Bhaktivinoda says that those who take shelter in the devotional service but act otherwise are the most deplorable people you can ever imagine. Just as many musicians say, people steal in the name of God. Those are the first people to go to hell. So even spirituality in Krishna consciousness, if someone is in Krishna consciousness and not pleasing Guru and Krishna as prescribed by scriptures, does not mean that he's going to go to heaven or even go to the spiritual world. He will go to hell. So it is not where you are that matters, but how you use things to please Guru and Krishna. That is my understanding. And therefore, I am suggesting that whoever has the ability to train or educate their children in secular education should go ahead and then do that, while encouraging them to dovetail whatever they are learning and doing in the service of Guru and Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Sade Prabhu ki jai. Mahaksha Prabhu. Okay,
Shri Salika
Mahaksha, go
Prabhu ki
first.
jai. Savat,
Let's-
Mahaksha Prabhu, please unmute. Yeah, sorry.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, it's very nice. It's a very large topic, and it takes a lot of understanding from different points. Definitively, it is. Prabhupada said that Western colleges are slaughterhouses, and I'm living in Western world, and the children in colleges, they are there like 10 hours a day, like education. And generally, this education is how to kill babies, how to kill animals, how to produce alcohol, all these chemical petrols. It's like generally just about how to produce chemicals to kill crops. Yeah, so like if you go there, it's like in Europe, a woman before they go to college, there's 80% of women does not agree with abortion, and after college, 80% of women agree with abortion. So it's like it's material education and material education. Who teaches the education? What actually the people teach in the education? Like in Europe Union, there is mandatory for teachers to teach on the college that abortion is useful for society. So they teach abortions people there. It doesn't matter if you go chemical school or physics school or economic school. They will teach you that abortion is perfect. And so that's really slaughterhouse. Like you can really, the people changing consciousness, people changing mind when they go there. It's like when the person before college in Europe and after college is like two different people, because the child or adult, he spent there like 10 hours a day. Then you cannot re-educate. You cannot just, the child will come after 10 hours and then you will ask him, what do you teach there? And try to teach him something else. You don't have time for it. If he would be at the college like 4 hours and then 4 hours in spiritual education, it would be different situation. Yeah. We have in ISKCON, we have a lot of wonderful educations, like for example, Bhaktivai. If you go to Mayapur, Bhaktivai, there is a lot of practical education, how to live in, how to make money, not directly how to make money, but there is a lot of like different stuff about Varnashrama, and you can nicely utilize. Like I can, like for example, myself, I have just basic Karmi basic education, and I have only like ISKCON education, and I have successful family life. I have successful prasadam distribution business. I have some little small farm, and I don't miss material education for whole my life. And of course, I have a lot of material education because if I need something, I just learn. If I need to learn counseling, I go and learn counseling. Yeah, so I like specify what is important for my life, and then I go and learn. But if I would like send my child to be like 10 years somewhere learning something what I know that 90% he will never use, and then deal with this all these abortions, meat eating, chemical producing, it's slaughterhouse, literally human slaughterhouse, literally.
Well, thank you. See, when we talk about spiritual topics or whatever, abortion is such a very controversial topic that is very rarely discussed, especially in public, because it's very controversial. But I would like to say this, that abortion is a necessity in some cases. This is a world of relativity. It is not a world of absolute nature. It's not absolutism in this material world. And so no sane person would suggest that a woman should just be frivolous and be licentious and have an affair left and right and abort the pregnancy. No, no sane person would say that. But it will also be insane for anyone to say that if a woman is pregnant and the pregnancy has medical problem that is affecting the fetus and affecting the mother, and there is possibility of both the mother and the fetus losing their lives, and if you abort the fetus, the mother will survive, and you say no, that is nonsense also. So in that sense, abortion is a necessity. So all we're trying to say is that everything has its usefulness at the right time, at the right place. You do not use medication meant for treating something topically to do something internally. Therefore, I am saying that everything is useful, provided we know how to use them in the service of Guru and Krishna. And that is exactly what I believe Srimad Mahaprabhu said. Because especially when we are in public, we have to be very mindful what we say and what words we use. Because if, like Srimad Mahaprabhu said, there are some schools of thought who say that women should never have education, who say that nobody should have education. Western education is insane, it's crazy. And they enter into schools and kill people. Now somebody sits and hears us that we say Western education is useless. How are they going to see us? We are not saying it's useless. We are saying that if we do not use that education to serve Guru and Krishna, it is not very useful, because ultimately we want to save our souls. That is what Hare Krishna stands for. That is my understanding of Krishna consciousness as given by Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna, and I rest my case here. Salika
Thank you very
Prabhu,
much,
you are the
Adi
speaker.
Prabhu.
Hare
Yeah,
Krishna.
thank you very much. And it's interesting because we are all saying the same thing in different ways from different circumstances. The reality is that when it comes to material education or anything in the material world, and I'll take the grossest example you use, responding to the issue of abortion. The Vedic scripture says to save a family, you can sacrifice one person. To save a community, you can sacrifice a family. To sacrifice a nation, you can sacrifice a state. So the reason is the Vedic scriptures are so all-encompassing that because they covers all different areas of human engagement, activities, and everything. But when we're talking about spiritual life, or we're talking on the platform of Krishna consciousness, there are certain things that are not materially right. For an example, we say that never trust a woman, a politician, quoted by Chanakya Pandit. Of course, yes, we'll say it's not a scriptural lesson, but we often use it. So the reality is that when we're talking morality, it's a different topic entirely. When we're talking about material education in material world, it's a different thing entirely. But when we're talking about the goal of life, which is the focus of Srimad Bhagavatam, when you look at the first stanza of Srimad Bhagavatam, he said, Dhamma proegita, all these kind of things that we're talking about, they are already taken out. They're not at this level of Bhagavatam conversation. When we're speaking at the Bhagavatam level, we're talking of transcendence, but that is not to say that morality, religiosity is not important. When Krishna was speaking, the whole essence of Krishna consciousness is to teach religiosity. But religion also has its level, and that's why Krishna says, abandon all varieties of religion. So when we talk in terms of religion, we should understand we're talking religion. But when we're talking about the essence of religion, that is why Srila Sukadev Goswami said, Taivam Pumcham Paroda Mu Yatu Bhakti Aduk Shaja. Aituki Apratyata Yatma Supasidati. The highest form is what Bhagavatam is referencing. And it is not meant for those who want to be happy in this material world. Bhagavatam is speaking at a level of consciousness when material activities are exhausted. So when we're talking morality, when we're talking religiosity, it is okay. We can speak about all of these considerations. But even with the perfection of the Vedic standard of livelihood, one cannot approach Krishna. And that is what Lord Brahma himself says. Vedeshu dulabam adulabam atma bhaktao govindam adipurusham tamahamba jami. So therefore, when we talk about the ultimate essence of Krishna consciousness, which is at the level of Bhagavatam, material education, one does not need it for the soul. Because without or with material education, the living entity can go back to Godhead. It does not need all of this. But the material, the spiritual life does not mean rejecting everything. You quoted reference to Srila Prabhupada several times. When Srila Bhakti, what brought Srila Prabhupada to the path of Bhakti according to the Leela, Srila Prabhupada was arguing, just like you're arguing now, to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, that why is he talking about all this when India has not gotten independence, when these challenges are still there? And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, we all know the Leela. So when we're talking about the essence of Krishna consciousness, yes, material education is useful, but only when they promote the ultimate goal of life. If they do not promote the goal of life, which is ultimately to quit this material world entirely and never come back to this place, they are of no value to the soul, ultimately. Because we are speaking on the soul level. When we're talking on the spiritual level, the certain statement I can understand, like Varaya Prabhu said, those who are saying Western education is
Boko Haram.
Yes, is useless. They are not saying what is the positive, but we are here saying that the ultimate knowledge is knowledge of self, but they are not talking about knowledge of the self. So one can perch himself on one side of the divide, and he will be imperfect. But when one is talking about perfection of the soul, material education, we have several acharyas in our disciplic succession. Shilago Kishore Babaji, many who never go to material education, but they are top spiritual persons. So Varnashram Dham was given by Krishna for the regulation of living in this material world. But when it comes to the essence of the Varnashram Dham itself, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is Krishna himself, he rejected it. So we should understand that, yes, we can give material consideration, we can accept everything, but everything when it does not ultimately lead to Krishna consciousness. Because if you take your example of abortion, for example, on no circumstances that Krishna consciousness supports abortion. And if we take it to the extreme, we will say, what is the karma that brings somebody for his life to be threatened by his own pregnancy? But because everyone is not on the platform of Krishna consciousness, so there are rules, there are regulations for everybody at their own level. Someone is on the lowest level of religiosity, so there is Varnashram Dham for him. And one is even in the material knowledge, not even on the Vedic platform. There are modern religiosity as set by what's that? Bhavishya Purana. Bhavishya Purana gave the precedence for Western religiosity or the Abrahamic religiosity that is pronounced all over the world now. That Purana tells us all of this will come in Kali Yuga. It does not mean that that is the highest form of religion. They are necessity for the maintenance of this age. But when we talk of the ultimate knowledge, Saivam Puncham Paroda, no, it's a different thing entirely. So all the agreements, all these contributions are all right. And when I appreciate your introspection question, when you make us go deeper, because it makes us to clarify the fact that, yes, material education is not useless in itself. It is only useless when it is not connected to Krishna consciousness, because it does not help the soul to attain its ultimate purpose. Material education, I'll repeat, is not useless in itself. It is useless only when it is not connected to Krishna. We are speaking on material scientific innovations here. Prabhupada particularly mentioned it in this same purport of the verse we are reading today. He said, material scientists are doing so many things. And if I read Prabhupada directly, Prabhupada said here in the purport, the most stalwart scientists and philosophers therefore cannot be accepted as wonderful. They only appear wonderful because they are instruments in the hands of the illusory energy of the Lord. Under illusion, the general mass of people deny the existence of the Supreme Lord and accept the foolish product of illusory energy as supreme. It's a very strong statement from Srila Prabhupada, and that is the mood in which we entered into this conversation. So Prabhupada is saying, material scientific innovations are wonderful only to glorify material illusion, Maya. So material education will only gratify and increase our existence in samsara, ocean of samsara. It will not help the soul. It will help our material body in different ways, but it will not help the soul. I'll rest my case here. Thank you so much for listening and giving me the opportunity. Hare Krishna.
Well, Hare Krishna. Thank you for the discussion. And if no one else has something to ask or to share, we may bring this to a close. And again, thank you for stepping in, Salika Prabhu, for doing this wonderful service.
Pleasure.
Yes. So devotees, may we humbly request you all to kindly unmute, and we all chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra to express our appreciation to our revered speaker for today, His Grace Salika Prabhu. And today is Friday. 2 days. In 2 days, that is Sunday. I believe it's around the world. It's Mother's Day. So we wish to express our gratitude to all our mothers. Anyone in a female body is a mother. Even if you're a child, you're still a mother. So we appreciate you all. It is by your guidance and grace we are all living today. So devotees, you may all unmute and we chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra to express our appreciation. Jai.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Rama, Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Rama
Hare
Rama,
Hare,
Hare
Hare
Hare.
Hare.
Vancha kalpatarubhyascha
Kalpatarubhyascha,
kripa
Sanubhya
Kripasinubhya
evacha
Vacha,
patitanam
patitana
Patitanam
pavibhyo
Pavanebhyo
pavanebhyo
vaishnavibhyo namo
Vaishnavibhyo
namaha.
Namo Namaha.
and devotee Vaishnavrinda ki jai.
Jai,
All glories to His Grace Salika Prabhu ki
All
jai.
glories to
Jai,
Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.
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 Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Haribo.
For your attention.
Salika, you are the host.
Hare
Yes.
Prabhu.